Good afternoon and welcome to Deepblocks Weekly Webinar. My name is Michael Cavone, your Chief Revenue Officer, and I appreciate you taking the time to join us this week as we get ready to explore and discuss our expansion into 100 cities. We are officially live in 100 cities with zoning data. It's a very exciting time for Deepblocks. We reached a milestone for us, and we're going to continue to grow from this point and continue to add more cities, continue to scale up. But this is a tremendous point for our company to hit 100 cities with zoning data. And again, we're in over 1,000 plus cities with parcel level data. We continue to bring you demographic data, market data, construction costs, all in one place as we converge it all into one interface to help you speed up your site selection and find those development opportunities, and then go through feasibility studies and analysis, and go through and understand that true development potential of a particular site. But again, now you'll see today that we can scale and do this in 100 cities throughout the country. So again, I do appreciate you taking the time to join us this week. I'm going to give a few more minutes to let some more people join us, but at any time, if you have any questions, please feel free to use the chat to ask me a question or review a particular part of the webinar. Additionally, at the end of the webinar, if you want to discuss something one-on-one with me, feel free to reach out to michael@deepblocks.com, and we can set up a time to discuss the software and see how it can cater to your needs and your particular development criteria. But again, I do appreciate taking the time, especially this very busy time at the end of the year. I know everyone's got busy schedules as we close the year out, but I do appreciate you joining us today as we're going to really see the power of Deepblocks and how we can do tremendous amount of site selection and go through over 100, we're up to 100 cities now with zoning data. And the power behind that is just absolutely tremendous to give you that competitive edge and truly keep you ahead of the trends and really see where there is development potential throughout the country. And as you'll see, I'm going to show you shortly, I'll share with you my screen, that we have zoning in not only the primary markets, but now we're entering into some secondary markets, some tertiary markets. But the whole key is that we continue to scale at a tremendous level. Our technology is just advancing leaps and bounds, and it's just a very exciting time to be a part of Deepblocks. So with that being said, I'll share my screen and we can kind of go through some of the key elements of Deepblocks, and then we'll jump into the webinar. Again, let's give a couple more minutes before to allow some more people to join us. But you'll see this is our latest map of our cities. This is actually 100 US cities, but you'll see here, you'll notice all the red dots now. This represents all the cities that we have zoning data in throughout the country. We currently the leader in digitizing zoning data. And again, as I mentioned, we're in 100 cities, and we're going to continue to build upon this and continue to reach more and more markets. We always are looking to take recommendations of other cities that interest our users. But as you can see, we have that ability to scale and reach new levels and bring you the most advanced ability to select certain sites. And one of the key components is having that zoning data behind it. Gross buildable, for instance, units allowed. There's just so many key criteria data points that you can now use and just, again, find those true sites that really meet your development thesis or development criteria, as we like to say, and do it at a certain speed that allows you to, again, stay ahead of your competition. But upon selecting that site, you kind of enter into our, as I always like to say, it's a two interface SaaS product, where the front end site selection, that back end, once you select that site, we go to preliminary underwriting, and we could do feasibility analysis and truly understand the real potential of a particular site, enter in setbacks, you enter in assumptions, and just get real-time understanding of the potential of a particular site. And really, it's very crucial to have a piece of software like this at your hands. Just the fact that it's not only saves you a tremendous amount of time, but a lot of upfront costs, fees that you do not have to pay with consultants or architects until you truly understand a particular site. And then once you feel comfortable with that site or feel that site makes the most sense, you can then move forward. So we're seeing our clients, just, again, as I mentioned, save a lot of time, a lot of money up front, and they're doing it, most importantly, at scale, right? They're able to do it not in just one particular city, but doing it in multiple cities. And it just gives them that true competitive advantage. So again, we're very proud here at Deepblocks to showcase the fact that we're in 100 cities with zoning, that as represented by those red arrows or red dots. And then the blue dots represent all the parcel level cities. We have parcel level data. And as I always like to mention, we also have market level data throughout the entire country. We represent opportunity zones, various rates from residential rates, retail rates, industrial rates, showing dollar per square foot of what the market we are seeing in the marketplace at the current moment. And again, additionally, other types of information, which I will showcase throughout the webinar. But the main key to today's webinars is just I kind of want to show you the power of how we can do things at scale and go to all these various markets and find that true development opportunity based on your criteria. We're going to look at various uses allowed you can look at in different marketplaces. So just to kind of give you an idea of what cities I want to look at today, we're going to jump around from Tempe, Arizona, Manhattan Beach, California, Gainesville, Florida, Cambridge, Massachusetts. If we have some time, we'll jump into Bozeman, Montana, and Midland, Texas. Again, that kind of gives you an idea of how far we're really reaching now with Deepblocks. As I mentioned, we're in all the primary markets, but now we're starting to kind of seep into those secondary markets. And there's a lot of development activity going on in those secondary markets, those surrounding areas outside some of the key primary markets. So it's just crucial to have software like Deepblocks to keep you, as I always like to say, give you that a true advantage and stay ahead of your competition. And with that, just again, always like to go through the website. So here, this is our cities. You'll see below the list now is extended to those 100 cities with zoning. And additionally, we have our webinar section where we upload each webinar each and every week. If it's not uploaded just yet, you please feel free to reach to me, Michael@deepblocks.com, and I will send you the latest webinar video if you need to review it and go through it with maybe your team. We have tutorials, which are great 60-second clips or short clips just to kind of show you key functionalities of the software, how to use the software, and the capabilities. And lastly, we have our pricing. Just to let you know, right now we're still at $18,000, but we are going up to $36,000. So this is, again, a great time to get in at $18,000 before we hit the $36,000 mark. You'll be grandfathered in at $18,000 a year, despite as we add more cities. So coming January 1st, we'll probably be going up to $36,000 now that we're in 100 cities. And it's good to get in right now before that year end. Additionally, we're working on some really cool machine learning models to show you how to compare cities, how to compare census tracts, look at the development potential based on cities and census tracts. And again, these are other items that we're going to implement in the beginning of 2022 that will really give you an even more advantage of how to find the next best opportunity for development and just really, again, keep you ahead of the trend. So that will be coming shortly as well. So as these new features are implemented, the prices are only going to go up. So this is a good time to get in at $18,000 a year. So with that being said, and again, I do appreciate you guys taking the time out of your busy schedule to join me. We're going to jump into the software and you'll just see my dashboard where all my project saves. And like I mentioned, we're going to jump into one of our new cities, Tempe, Arizona. Again, if at any time you have any questions or want to review something, please feel free to use the chat and I will either review your question or go back on a specific item that you might be curious to learn more about. So here we go. So Tempe, Arizona it is. And my main focus here is I'm going to, again, like to always kind of show when I go through my webinars, kind of the full power of the software and really understand how you go from especially on the site selection. I mean, this is the front interface. This is our search engine, our market scanner, where we always like to say it's speed to site selection. We're trying to get you to filter through thousands and thousands of parcels just to a handful based on your criteria that meet your development needs and find those specific sites that truly have the development potential that you're seeking. And upon selecting that site, we go through the preliminary underwriting, look at the 3D models and massings and do the feasibility studies and truly understand the true potential of a particular site to see if that makes sense. Does it make sense to proceed with your resources and move on this particular site, or do you want to go look at a different site? And the great thing about Deepblocks is upon going through the market scanner, you can export to CSV all the specific sites that match your criteria. And then on the back end, as you go through the feasibility studies, you can export those to PDF files and share those files. But we're going to always start with that macro view level of a particular city. Again, this is Tempe, Arizona. We're going to minimize some of these screens so we can get a good view of this particular city. And we always like to turn on this buildable area ratio. Buildable area ratio just gives you a really strong idea of where the pockets of density are, where we're seeing growth in a particular city now. because Tempe is a little more of a secondary market outside this Phoenix market, I usually like to point out the deep red in these primary markets, but now we're going to look for more of a deep orange, just to so you kind of have a good understanding. Anything that appears in our map layers, we do have a map legend to show you how this data is sourced, how it's represented. So you'll see right here, we're looking at these 4 to 7.5 and 2.5 to -4 areas. So some of these deep orange is some good true potential, especially right here. So we'll kind of start to zoom back in, get an idea of what we're looking at here. We can turn on some of our layers in the people tab. For instance, we kind of get an idea of that median income. Now, for this particular search for Tempe, Arizona, I'm going to kind of focus in on office and storage uses allowed. So we kind of want to get a certain feel for that particular marketplace. You look at the population, see what kind of population we have going on over here. As most people know, storage is kind of a really hot development item at the moment. There's a lot going on with storage units. So I would say the greater the population might be, there's probably more need for storage units available for a particular company. So again, population is a nice, good understanding. We could then kind of jump into some other areas as well. Look at some of the office rates. This again is $1 per square foot. We basically take an aggregate of a listing data throughout the country, then apply our machine learning models to this data and bring a strong baseline of $1 per square foot. We're seeing about $14.60 a square foot in this particular area that I'm focusing in on. So it's a pretty solid rate. You can also look at some of our industrial rates and our retail rates as well. So retail rates, we're looking at $20.11 in this particular area. And then lastly, we have our industrial rates at $4.18, a little bit on the lower end, but our main focus is going to be this retail and office based on storage and office uses allowed for Tempe, Arizona. So I'm going to continue to zoom in. As I continue to zoom in, we'll see our parcels will finally start to appear with those blue outlines. And we'll kind of now begin our search and just kind of go through and narrow down from all these parcels to find the specific parcel based on our criteria. So just to give you an idea of how many parcels are in our viewport, we're looking at about, I'm going to zoom out a little bit more, let that gather. So we're looking at about almost 4,000 parcels in my particular viewport. Now, just to always give you a brief understanding, I use Google Chrome for when I use Deepblocks. I always suggest using Google Chrome. It is a SaaS product, so you can use pretty much any internet browser, but Google Chrome is what we advise. As well as I like to zoom out to about 80% on my screen, just to, the more parcels you can capture in your viewport, kind of the faster you can go through a particular market and understand and find that site that is based on your development needs. So we kind of have an idea of about 4,000 parcels sitting here. As I mentioned, we're going to look first for some offices. And this is a great thing about uses allowed. You can kind of look for office and select the offices. Now all of a sudden we're down to 973 parcels matching. And then we can kind of start reducing those parcels matched to based on maybe buildable square footage. So maybe we're looking for something around 50,000 minimum. And let's see what that brings us down to 226. Let's go a little bit lower. Let's see. That gives us 314. All right, so we're gonna go up to a little higher. Let's go up to 100,000. Now we're down to 148 parcels matching. We could also kind of look at some lot sizes. Maybe we're looking for at least an acre. All right, so now we're quickly down to 100 parcels matching. So again, just quickly went from 4,000 parcels. As I zoom in, now we're down to 79 parcels. Now I'm going to continue to focus in on this particular area where I'm seeing that, there's pockets of density based on this buildable area ratio layer. It's a very strong indicator of where we're seeing growth and a good understanding of a particular marketplace. Now, other trends we can look at to kind of give you a more micro level view, we can always start looking at these demographic trends. So as we focus in on this particular census tract, we could put our mouse over, and this is going to be 3187. So we turn these off and kind of get an idea of what's going on. So we're back on a nice little incline here in population. We could also look at, let's see, we got employment population as well. See how that's going in 3187. Now we can see that's kind of growing against the United States trend, which is relatively a slight incline, but there's a little bit of a stronger incline. So some good indications of this could be a strong marketplace to develop, especially for offices. Again, we're seeing a nice went down, but a nice strong incline back up in the median household income. So we can focus in and start to select some of these sites to see where the potential makes sense for building an office and doing a development play. Now, we could select those parcels, go through the preliminary underwriting, which I will show you in a few throughout the webinar today. I'd like to also kind of show the ability to do assemblages as well. So again, we have tremendous amount of flexibility with Deepblocks. But one of the first things I like to kind of do is maybe turn the satellite layer on, get a good feel what does exist on these particular parcels. You know, certain cities have what we have called an existing building layer to give you an idea if there's vacant land or if there's something on that particular site. If it does not, certain cities do not offer that just yet, what we do is we turn that satellite layer on and kind of get a feel of what's on these particular parcels. So for instance, this looks like it could be a parking lot. This could be a strong play for development for an office space. This looks like a parking lot right here. So we can kind of work off using the satellite layer to see where there's potential. As you kind of zoom in more, you can tell there's not really an existing structure there. So again, this could be a good potential play for development of. Now, even if there is an existing structure, if the building is somewhat older, that means you can maybe negotiate and could do a demo and then redevelop. But for this particular example, kind of looking for some empty space. And I think right here, we got a nice little parcel there. We could jump into and then go into that preliminary underwriting. We could do office and kind of go through the assumptions and again, seek out the real potential, development potential of this particular site. But before I kind of jump into that, I kind of want to go back and we're going to look at another use, which again, I feel is very important right now, is storage in Tempe, Arizona. So we're going to do storage, wholesale, and distribution. Select that. We're going to zoom back out and you'll see we have 4 parcels matching over an acre, 100,000 square foot buildable. So again, just quickly, we went from 4,000 parcels matching just to as I zoom out, it's now up to 9. But again, you could export this out to CSV. You'll get all 9 parcels matching their listing data, as well as the zoning data and some key data tied to each of those parcels to help you begin this, you know, the work out and kind of understand the development potential of this particular sites and share it again with your partners, with colleagues in your industry, and kind of figure out what site makes the most sense for this particular play. So it's very similar concept. We kind of start looking at with the storage, the satellite view on, just to kind of get an idea of what we're looking at and understand the particular, if these are decent sites for possible storage. So you can always zoom out and kind of browse around too. You obviously you can move your screen around. We can start to look around to see if there's other areas where there's possible storage development plays. And I could turn this off. They were looking for a smaller lot, not so much as big as an acre. And we can see what other lots come up. Maybe you don't need a necessarily 100,000 square feet. Maybe we could do 50,000 for gross buildable. And you'll see more parcels will match back up to 103. So the key is to kind of just showcase how we're now, again, as we extend it to other cities, we can quickly look and identify sites that make sense based on our development criteria. So you can put in different, different parameters here to refine your search and truly narrow down to certain sites and see if we can kind of meet your requirements. Here you go. This is like it's possible development play right there. All right, so like I said, I'm going to kind of go into the feasibility, a few other examples down the road. I just wanted to kind of show you a little bit of Tempe, Arizona. And I kind of want to just, again, show you the ability to hit all these new cities that we now have. And again, the capabilities of the software run throughout all 100 cities. So whatever you're seeing in Tempe, Arizona, if I show you Orlando, Florida, if I show you Miami, New York, everything you're seeing and I'm demonstrating can be done in all 100 cities. And that's where the power of Deepblocks comes in. It gives you that ability to search and find specific sites to your development criteria and go through the whole process from A to Z using Deepblocks in various markets. So we're going to jump in now and look at Manhattan Beach, California is another one that we just added. And jump over there and again, kind of go through Similar steps. Again, I always like to do that macro view, kind of get a good feel of this particular market. We'll zoom out a bit. As you can see, some strong, deep orange all in this particular part of Manhattan Beach. So a lot of development potential going on. Now, for this particular, we're going to zoom back in. Let's kind of get an idea of what we're looking at for the people layer. See some median incomes that we're looking at now. For Manhattan Beach, I want to focus on industrial and multifamily, just see what kind of plays are going on now. If you know this area well, it's obviously more of a higher income area. Look, you've got 127,000, 160, 181, 201,000. So this could be some really nice high-end multifamily plays. But I'm going to we're going to do a search for some industrial as well, just to kind of just see, especially in this current climate, that there's a tremendous amount of need for industrial right now. So let's just see if there's some sites that meet our capacity for a development play for industrial. So we'll start out with, I'm going to type in industrial. Let's see, sorry, we're going to do. So, and again, the great thing about Deepblocks, you can actually kind of scroll down the list and look for different use allowed in a particular market. So we got offices, we got multifamily residential. So we're going to look at that one shortly. I believe, let's see what else we have. All right, let's focus on the multifamily first. All right, so you'll see we have 1,000 parcels matching. Now, again, just to backtrack a second, just to get an idea of how many parcels we're looking at total. We're looking at about 2,200 parcels in my particular viewport. So we're going to now, again, type in that multifamily. And now we're down to 854 parcels. Now we have this slider called units allowed. We can see what is allowed. So say there's just 5 units allowed. We're having 7 parcels matching perfect. Now, again, being Manhattan Beach, again, relatively a secondary market of sorts, you're probably going to be looking for a little bit smaller multifamily development plays, but that just shows you now we can look for 5 units, minimum of 5 units allowed. We also have this existing building slider. Let's see if there is any vacant land here, which I'm not sure there will be. We'll just double check. Let's see. There's 1 parcel matching for multifamily that is vacant. Let's see if we can find that particular parcel. Sometimes they're hiding behind our menus here, so we gotta kind of zoom in a bit. I'm not seeing it at the moment, but in any case, all right, so there we go. We have 4 parcels matching that are vacant lands. Let's see if any of these are multifamily. Nope. So you can see, as you can see, the options will change for your use allowed based on where you are in a particular market, and it kind of keeps you focused in on what meets your needs. So this particular part of Manhattan Beach, you know, as you move to the east or to the west, the use allowed will adjust based on what you're seeking. So here we go. Let's see, we got no parcels matching because I'm looking for vacant land, but all right, let's go back to units allowed. We have 5, minimum 5, we have 7 parcels matching. So kind of get an idea of what we can see and work with here. Now this could be a potential assemblage play. Let's also turn the satellite layer on. Now it looks like there's existing buildings on each of these, but we can kind of get an idea of what does exist on here. Let's see what we have. We got 10,000, almost 11,000 square feet of an existing building area. 15 units are allowed. And as you guys know, it's not always a done deal. I mean, there could be existing structures, and we can work with the owners and again, work out a way of developing on this particular site based on what you're trying to accomplish. So that's why we like to use Deepblocks for that particular use case, where we want to bring you any deal, off market, things that are as well, that are up for sale as well. But we always like to bring you all deals possible, try to find that perfect opportunity to either redevelop a particular area, develop it from scratch, whatever it may be. So again, this is just a way of kind of just going through today, showing Now, we're going to be hitting different markets now, entering different uses allowed, looking into different search criteria to, again, minimize those results based on your needs. So, and the whole concept here is to kind of go through thousands of parcels and filter it down to just a handful very, very quickly. So that's Manhattan Beach for the multifamily. Again, I'm just going to kind of jump around today because I want to kind of just again show you how you can go to these different markets, especially the new ones that we added, and you can kind of enter in these pieces of criteria and find sites based on what you're seeking. So the next one I want to jump to is Gainesville, Florida. And I promise, select the site. We will go through the feasibility analysis as well at the end as we select the site. All right, so again, let's zoom out a bit. Let's kind of get a feel for Gainesville. And again, if you joined us in previous webinars, you always notice that in a lot of the primary markets, I had a deep red to show you kind of where pockets of density were and where we're seeing growth. Now they're kind of entering some of these other markets. You're going to start to see more of that orange, which is kind of where the growth is going to be, where the yellow is kind of the least amount of growth, but the orange is where we're seeing pockets of density. So we'll kind of focus in on this particular area. Now for Gainesville, we're going to go through and see what other types of uses allowed we can possibly find. And again, this does have the existing building area slider as well, so maybe we can find some vacant land. Go back to the grid. Now, just again, to show you the breadth and the power of Deepblocks for this particular search in Gainesville, we're going to start out looking at assisted living facilities. So again, and sorry not to jump ahead, but just to show you the amount of parcels in this particular, we're looking at about 6,100 parcels in this particular viewport. And then if we select the assisted living facility, we're down to 1,483. Now let's say we're looking for gross buildable of say 100,000 square feet. And we're down to 144 parcels matching. Now let's see if we can find any vacant parcels. Yes, perfect. So now we're down to perfect. We're now down to 14 parcels matching in Gainesville, zone for assisted living, 100,000 square feet gross buildable. So we can kind of focus in on a couple of these sites and start to go through that process. And let's actually go through the preliminary underwriting. So we'll select that parcel. We can kind of get a good idea of the information based on here. We got current use, we got land use. You see it's existing building data, it's vacant land, market value, so relatively inexpensive. There's your ownership information. Here's your zoning limits. So again, this is the key information we are bringing to you. We got 5 stories by right, 8 with building height bonus. Lot coverage 60%. Get your zoning district, unit density, 30 units per acre. We'll get our parking by use, general use allowed in these specific uses that are allowed in this particular parcel. So again, adult daycare homes, maybe that's what we're looking to build here. And we also get our setbacks, 10 minimum, 100 max, 15, 10, and 10. So with that being said, well, let's just actually go through and show you how this works. So this is going to be assisted living. We'll do a multifamily. And right now what's going on, it's kind of calculating based on the sub-market values. In the zoning, we're going to build out this 3D model and kind of go through the steps of how you can adjust and enter in the various setbacks, the assumptions, and start to truly understand what the real potential of this particular site is. Does it make sense to proceed with this site? And you'll see here, this is the same information we were just looking at in the previous interface. I always like to jump into the parking first to kind of get that set away first. So we're looking at 1 parking space per bedroom. And you can kind of see the different breakdowns of parking based on the parking by use. So what we would do is we'll go to our assumptions, we'll go to parking. I'm just going to put 1 in right now for per unit, and then parking will show up in the gray. The next thing, we get 30 units per acre. And I believe we're on, let's see. So we're a little bit over acre and a quarter. So we should be able to get at least a little over 40 units. So we'll go to our assumptions. We're going to go to our multifamily. We're going to adjust this. Let's put 55 in here for just this particular example. We can actually 65. All right, so that'll adjust our units. Again, we could adjust these accordingly, make them 1 bedrooms, 2 bedrooms, 3 bedrooms, whatever it makes sense. But just to kind of go to the example first, then we're going to kind of do our setbacks now. We've got 10 min, 15, 10, and 10. And we can go into our setback mode. And here we can adjust setbacks based on each floor. All right, so our primary is going to be over here. Make this our secondary. This will be our side, and then this will be our rear. You can also, we have these measurement tools as well. So you could actually lay out a floor plan on this particular, on each individual floor, and that will save per floor. So you got to get an idea of what would fit and just get a good idea of what makes sense for each individual floor. We're going to exit our setback mode though. We're going to kind of go back to those numbers and see. We got 10, 15, 10, 10. So we're going to do 10, 15, 10, and 10. Enter those in, and you can kind of see the setbacks being put in. But now we can kind of be a little bit, we can maybe put a little bit more into this just to kind of start to mold the building a bit. Maybe we want to do 25 because we also got to do a 60% lot coverage based on the zoning, as you notice up here. So we might have to make these setbacks a little bit greater. And again, you can kind of just continue to play with it and get a good feel for it. So let's make this one, let's make this 45 just to, all right, so we have perfect. Now we're at 60% lot coverage, and you kind of start to work on this particular, work on the assumptions. You can work on the gross buildable, so maybe we'll only do 940 square feet per unit. Maybe the amenities will only be about 10,000 square feet, which is quite large. And we can kind of increase the income. Maybe we'll do about 2,300. Now we do pre-populate with a sub-market value for this particular census tract. That is based on, I guess I mentioned, this particular area, and we do try to keep that current. We show you the purchase price as well as the hard costs and the soft costs. Soft costs are a percentage of the hard costs. But again, we get everything's always adjustable for our users to try to work it based on what they might feel makes more sense in their eyes. And these are areas that we're continuing to grow and expand upon. We will be adding in newer line items for under these different assumptions, trying to really give it a little more detail, but it does give you a good, strong overview and a high level view of the 1 year back of the envelope return on cost. And just so you can see, this kind of is all automatically computed. Your income statement right here, you get your key performance indicators right here to make sure this is in line with your zoning and your cost and return on cost. And then we have a breakdown of all the assumptions. And then lastly, PDF report. As I mentioned, you could export this out to a 4-page PDF file and kind of go through various iterations on this particular site. Or if you select multiple sites, you want to do, you want to show one site, you kind of can upload your own image here, your own logo, upload your own summary about this particular site. You'll get property info, zoning summary, stacking plan, those key demographic trends for a particular area. And then lastly, that all your assumptions in that 1 year back of the envelope return on cost. Again, this is very resourceful because, as I mentioned, as we're looking at various sites based on, again, we're looking for sites for assisted living, and there was 4 parcels matching. We could go through and select each parcel and quickly kind of develop out and do these 3D models and say, all right, which one of these 4 makes the most sense, export those all out to a PDF file and share those with your colleagues, your investors, whoever it may be. But again, we can jump back over and continue to explore Gainesville, Florida as well, and look at other different uses. Now, some other popular ones that I know for a fact are drive-throughs. We're on a retail side, so we can look at those. There you go, we got 23 parcels matching. Now, when it comes to more of the retail side, we can jump on to our map layers. We have some different retail buttons that are very helpful. Again, we have retail rates. So this is going to give you $1 per square foot. I'm going to zoom out a bit. Again, we're taking an aggregate of all the listing data throughout the country. We break it down by that census tract, and we apply our machine learning to really be a strong baseline of $1 per square foot that we're seeing in the marketplace. We validate this information quite routinely to make sure it's a good understanding of the particular area. We can also look, again, traffic count is going to be very key and crucial for if you're building a drive-through facility to understand the different traffic flow through an area. As I mentioned, you could go to Map Legend, look up and see how that traffic flow is represented. You'll see based on the color, the amount of traffic that is going through a particular area. So it's very, very helpful. Additionally, we could also look at these demographic trends. We have local businesses you can turn on to see what other businesses are in a particular area. So maybe something over here might make more sense because you see other businesses there, and it might just bring that additional traffic. It just, again, it kind of depends on what you're looking for, what your development needs. So every company has their own development criteria to be successful. So if it's a corner lot, if it's a certain lot near a certain amount of traffic, again, Deepblocks is the best way to accumulate all that data that you're looking at, all your criteria, and kind of pump it into the system and find that parcel that you really feel might make the most sense. So again, that just gives you an idea of the power of Deepblocks to find. We went from looking at assisted living sites, now we're looking at drive-through. Just to give you another example, something we could look for is, I believe, car wash, another popular one that people look at. So again, so, we're looking at 38 parcels matching. This particular part of Gainesville, Florida, that matches based on car wash and vacant land. So again, another way of finding parcels based on what you are looking to develop. So, and just kind of I'm going to go through one more examples and then we'll kind of end it for today. But another, just want to really show you that's how you can use Deepblocks at scale. Cambridge, Massachusetts, another new city we just added. Again, same concept. We can kind of get a nice good feel and turn these counts off, go back to that general, turn that buildable area ratio on. You kind of get an idea of what's going on in this particular city. Again, we look for opportunity zones in Cambridge, Massachusetts. So anything in that yellow is an opportunity zone. So maybe we're looking for particular opportunities. Now, opportunity zones are great for tax incentives. Now, nothing's going to fall within those opportunity zones, but with Cambridge and Massachusetts, just some of the things, again, just to kind of show you how wide we can go, and really, there's really not much, kind of, to show you how far you can stretch these parameters and really look for various different uses allowed. And it's not that there's just one or two, there's numerous uses allowed that you can actually enter into Deepblocks to find what makes sense for you. So again, let's look for hospitals, for instance. These are going to be parcels that are zoned for a hospital. So we have 5,000 parcels matching zone for hospital. Additionally, we can kind of start to reduce this number and look for, let's see, we can use FAR as another way of kind of reducing that number. That might be we're looking for a certain size. So maybe you look for 10 FAR. It's probably a little on the higher side. Let's say 6. All right, so we got 4 matching at, 38 matching at a FAR of 4. See if there's any for 5. No, so 4 is FAR. Whoops. So 4, we have 38 parcels matching on this part of Cambridge. And again, you kind of go through these various sites. You could turn on that satellite layer, get a good understanding, because as I mentioned, not every city does have existing building area sliders. So you might need to use the satellite layer to just get a feel for what currently exists on a particular parcel and see if that parcel makes sense. We also have a street view too as well. So you can do a Google, you can select that parcel, use that Google Street View to kind of get an idea of also what exists in a particular parcel. But the other great thing with Deepblocks, we can do assemblages. So say we want to reconstruct this entire triangle right here, we can select both parcels. We'll get all the information for both parcels. You'll see that breakdown right here. Got it. 2.75 for non-residential, 4 for residential. And dormitory uses. So again, Cambridge being near some colleges, you could probably set up some college dormitories as well over here. But here you'll see your general uses allowed, your specific breakdown. So we got anywhere from industrial or heavy industrial, light industrial, office, got some retail. But you'll see that specific breakdown as well to what you're capable of developing on these particular sites. So just gives you an idea of the strength and power of the software to go through so many different markets, so many different cities, and again, enter in specific criteria for your development needs and really find what makes the most sense for what you're trying to accomplish. So I do appreciate everybody coming out today. I know with the holidays around the corner, everybody's schedule's very, very busy, but again, I appreciate you taking that time to join me today. And again, if you have any questions at any time or ever want to kind of go through this on a one-on-one level, please reach me at michael@deepblocks.com. Again, I just want to recap that today was kind of a way of showing, it's a really exciting day for Deepblocks as we expand to 100 cities. We're a leader in digitizing zoning data, as well as bringing in all these other elements from market data, demographic data, and parcel level data, and just allowing you to go, we like to say, increasing your speed to site selection. It's an extremely important part of that pre-construction phase, finding parcels, finding sites that don't not only meet your development criteria, but that you can find those specific uses based on zoning. And it's just a tremendous amount of power of understanding the zoning uses allowed, gross buildable, and really identifying parcels that, again, there's this gives you the ability to find these development opportunities that you might not otherwise find waiting for a broker to bring it to you or waiting for it. This allows you to kind of go out, be proactive, find these parcels, find these off-market deals, select those sites. And then again, the other key part of their software is to jump into that feasibility analysis and go into our Explorer interface through those 3D models, enter in setbacks, enter in assumptions, and truly develop and figure out the real potential of a particular site to say to yourself, does this make sense? Does this particular parcel have the capacity to really bring us the profits we were looking for? Does it meet our company criteria? And quickly go through these different iterations in different sites at a very high level and a very efficient manner to really reduce those costs and increase your efficiency. So it's a very special piece of software. And we're just only going to get stronger and stronger as these months are ahead. So it's a great time to join us and be a part of Deepblocks. And again, I hope you have a great holiday season and look forward to seeing you in the new year. Take care and have a great afternoon. Bye.